7 days had passed since the alien demand. Captain Hyun-woo Park stood on the bridge of the New Seoul, looking at the communication device that would carry humanity's answer across the galaxy. His crew watched him carefully, knowing that history was about to be made. Lieutenant Soo-min Kim had prepared the quantum transmitter according to the coordinates the aliens had given them. The signal would reach not just Ambassador Veltar, but the entire Galactic Dominion Council. Hundreds of alien species would hear humanity's response. "Captain, the transmission is ready," Soo-min said quietly. Hyun-woo nodded and walked to the center of the bridge. He had thought about this moment for 7 days. He had talked to his crew, read messages from Earth, and considered every possible word he could say. In the end, his choice was simple. "Begin transmission," he ordered, far across the galaxy, in the great council chambers on the planet Dominion Prime. Beings from hundreds of worlds waited to hear humanity's surrender. The chamber was enormous, with floating platforms for each species' representatives. Crystal beings, gas clouds, metal creatures, and life forms that defied description all watched the main screen. Ambassador Veltar floated near the center, his crystal body reflecting the lights of the chamber. He had delivered the tribute demand to thousands of species over the centuries. They always responded the same way, with fear, begging, or immediate surrender. Supreme Chancellor Mordeth of the Nilhari sat on the highest platform. His species looked like tall, thin humans, but with large black eyes and the ability to read minds. He used his telepathic powers to sense the emotions of other council members. Today, he felt only boredom and certainty. The primitive humans should be transmitting their tribute manifest soon, Veltar announced to the chamber. Another species joins the Dominion. Dr. Yoon-ji Han, the council's expert on alien psychology, floated in her tank of breathing fluid. Her species lived underwater, but had studied the surrender patterns of over 12,000 different life forms. She prepared to record humanity's submission for the historical archives. The main screen activated, showing the bridge of the human ship. Captain Hyun-woo Park appeared, standing straight and looking directly into the camera. The council members noticed that he did not look afraid or desperate like most species did when giving their surrender. The human representative appears calm, Dr. Han noted in her records. "This is unusual but not unprecedented." Hyun-woo took a breath and spoke clearly. His voice carried across space to the council chambers. "No." The single word echoed through the vast chamber. For a moment, no one moved. The word was so simple, so direct, that many council members thought they had misunderstood. Ambassador Veltar's crystal form flickered with confusion. In all his centuries of taking tribute from new species, none had ever given such a flat, absolute refusal. There was no pleading, no attempt to negotiate, no asking for more time. Just one word. "Did the translation system malfunction?" Veltar asked the technicians. "No, Ambassador," came the reply. "The translation is correct." The human said no. Supreme Chancellor Mordeth leaned forward on his platform. Using his telepathic abilities, he tried to sense Captain Hyun-woo's emotions through the transmission. What he felt made him step back in surprise. The human was not afraid. He was not angry or desperate. He was simply determined, as if refusing the council was the most natural thing in the galaxy. Mordeth had never encountered such absolute certainty in the face of certain death. Dr. Han quickly accessed her database of surrender patterns. In 50,000 years of council history, no species had ever given a one-word refusal. There were always speeches, explanations, attempts to bargain. The database showed that 99.7% of species surrendered immediately when shown the planet-killing weapons. The other 0.3% fought and were destroyed. But even they tried to negotiate first. "This is unprecedented," Dr. Han announced to the chamber. "No species in our records has responded this way." The council chamber erupted in confused chatter. Representatives from different species spoke in dozens of languages, all asking the same questions. What did this mean? Was it a joke? Were humans too primitive to understand the threat? Admiral Kethvar of the Zephyrian War Fleet stood up on his platform. His species were the Council's primary military force, resembling large armored insects with multiple arms designed for combat. "Chancellor, this is clearly defiance," Kethvar declared. "We should send the war fleets immediately. Destroy their planet and be done with it." But Chancellor Mordeth raised a hand for silence. Something about the humans' response troubled him. In his 500 years of life, He had learned to trust his instincts about other species. "Wait," he ordered. "I want to understand what we are dealing with first." On the main screen, Captain Hyunwoo still stood calmly on his bridge. He had not moved or spoken again. The transmission remained open, but he seemed to have nothing more to say. "Human," Ambassador Veltar spoke, his crystal voice sharp with irritation. "Perhaps you did not understand. We are offering you the choice to live under council rule or die. There is no third option." Hyunwoo looked directly at the camera again. "I understood perfectly. My answer is no." The simplicity of his response sent another wave of confusion through the council. Dr. Han frantically searched her psychological profiles, trying to find some explanation for this behavior. "Chancellor," she called out, "I am detecting something unusual in their response pattern. Most species show fear, anger, or desperation when facing annihilation. This human shows none of those emotions. What does he show?" Mordeth asked. "Acceptance. He has already accepted death as preferable to surrender." The chamber fell silent as the implications of this sank in. A species that preferred death to subjugation was dangerous in ways the Council had never encountered. Admiral Cathvar was growing impatient. "So they want to die. We can arrange that quickly." "It is not that simple," Dr. Han explained. "A species willing to die rather than submit might fight differently than others. They might take actions that rational species would never consider." Chancellor Mordeth's telepathic abilities picked up something else from the human transmission. Behind Captain Hyunwoo's calm exterior was something that made the Chancellor's blood run cold. Complete and absolute commitment to his refusal. "Human," Mordeth spoke directly to the screen. "I am Supreme Chancellor of the Council. Do you understand that we have destroyed 847 worlds that refused our authority?" "Yes," Hyunwoo replied simply. "And you still refuse?" "Yes, why?" For the first time, Hyunwoo showed emotion. His calm expression shifted to something harder, more dangerous. "Because some things are more important than living," he said. "Freedom is one of them." The transmission ended. Captain Hyunwoo had said everything he needed to say. On the New Seoul's bridge, his crew stood quietly, knowing they had just declared war on the most powerful force in the galaxy. In the council chambers, chaos erupted again. Representatives shouted over each other, some demanding immediate action, others calling for more study of this strange species. Chancellor Mordeth sat back on his platform, his mind racing. In 50,000 years, the Council had built their empire on a simple principle. Every species valued survival above all else. They had never encountered a species that valued something else more. Dr. Han was already pulling up every piece of data the Council had about humanity. What she found in their preliminary scans made her more worried with each passing minute. "Chancellor," she called out over the noise, "we need to study this species more carefully before we act. Their psychological profile is unlike anything in our database." "What do you mean?" Mordeth asked. "According to our scans of their planet, this species has a history of choosing death over surrender repeatedly throughout their existence. They have fought wars that lasted centuries rather than accept defeat. They have destroyed their own cities rather than let enemies capture them." Admiral Cathvar laughed harshly. "Then they are suicidal fools. All the more reason to destroy them quickly." But Dr. Han shook her head. "No, Admiral. They are not suicidal. They fight to win. But they will accept death before they accept slavery. This makes them unpredictable in ways our military doctrine has never accounted for." Chancellor Mordeth stood up, his tall form commanding attention from the entire chamber. "The Council will recess for 1 day," he announced. "I want complete psychological and military profiles of this human species before we decide how to proceed." As the representatives filed out of the chamber, many grumbling about the delay, Chancellor Mordeth stared at the now empty main screen. For the first time in his long life, he felt something he had never experienced when dealing with a new species. He felt afraid. The council chambers buzzed with nervous energy the next day. Representatives from hundreds of worlds gathered again, but the mood was different. The confident certainty of the previous day had been replaced by doubt and worry. Supreme Chancellor Mordeth took his place on the highest platform, his tall Nilhari form casting long shadows. Around him, the other council members settled into their positions. Everyone waited to hear what the intelligence teams had discovered about humanity. Dr. Eun Han floated in her tank at the center of the chamber. Surrounded by holographic displays showing data about Earth and its people, She had spent the entire night analyzing every piece of information the Council had gathered about humans. "Begin your report." "Dr. Han," Chancellor Mordeth ordered. Dr. Han activated her displays showing images of Earth's surface. Cities, farmlands, and oceans appeared on the screens around the chamber. Species designation, human. Planet designation, Earth. Population, approximately 8 billion individuals, she began. Initial scans suggested a typical developing civilization with standard technological progression. Admiral Kethvar shifted impatiently on his platform. "We know this already. Tell us something useful." Dr. Han's displays changed to show human military equipment and weapons. This is where the analysis becomes disturbing. Upon deeper examination, we discovered that this species has weaponized everything. The screens showed images of human warfare throughout history. Swords, guns, tanks, aircraft, and finally nuclear weapons. They have created weapons capable of destroying their own planet multiple times over. Dr. Han continued. More concerning, they have actually used these weapons on themselves repeatedly. Commander Yujin Song, the Council's military intelligence chief, stepped forward. His species resembled tall, blue-skinned humanoids with 4 arms. He had been analyzing human military doctrine all night. "Chancellor, the humans have a concept in their military thinking that we have never encountered," Yujin said. "They call it total war. It means they will use every resource, destroy everything necessary, and accept any losses to achieve victory. Many species fight fiercely when threatened," Admiral Kethvar replied. "What makes these humans different?" Yujin activated new displays showing human battle records. "Every other species we have studied has a breaking point, a level of losses that causes them to surrender rather than face extinction. Humans appear to have no such limit." The displays showed human conflicts where entire armies fought to the last soldier rather than surrender. Cities that destroyed themselves rather than be captured. Battles where humans chose certain death over possible slavery. "Look at this example," Yujin pointed to a battle scene. In one of their wars, an entire human army was surrounded with no hope of escape. Standard military logic would demand surrender. Instead, they fought until every soldier was dead. The enemy won the battle but lost so many troops that they could not continue the war. Dr. Han nodded grimly. This pattern repeats throughout their history. They preferred death to defeat in ways that make no logical sense. Chancellor Mordeth studied the data with growing concern. Using his telepathic abilities, he had probed the minds of thousands of species over the centuries. He understood how most life forms thought, but the human mind seemed to work differently. "Dr. Han, in your psychological analysis, what motivates this behavior?" "That is the most troubling part, Chancellor. Most species value survival above all else. Humans value abstract concepts like freedom, honor, and independence more than their own lives. This makes them fundamentally unpredictable." The chamber filled with worried murmurs as representatives discussed this information among themselves. Many had never heard of a species that would choose death over slavery. Ambassador Veltar's crystal form flickered with confusion. "This makes no sense. Why would any intelligent species choose extinction over survival?" "Because they do not see it as survival," Dr. Han explained. "To humans, living under the control of others is not true life. They would rather die free than live as slaves." Commander Yujin activated another display. "There is more. Our scouts have been monitoring their planet since the transmission yesterday. Their response to our threat has been unexpected." The screen showed images of Earth's major cities. Instead of panic or preparation for surrender, humans were mobilizing for war. Factories were being converted to produce weapons. Military bases were expanding rapidly. "They are not preparing to surrender or negotiate," Yujin continued. "They are preparing to fight. Our scouts report that they have begun converting their entire industrial capacity to military production." "In one day?" Admiral Kethvar asked in disbelief. "Yes. Their entire civilization has shifted to a war footing faster than any species in our records. It is as if they have been waiting for this moment." Dr. Han pulled up more data about human psychology. This fits their historical pattern. When faced with an existential threat, humans do not waste time on doubt or debate. They unite and fight. Chancellor Mordeth felt a chill run through his body. The Council's power had always been based on the assumption that all intelligent life valued survival above freedom. If humans truly valued freedom more than life, then the Council's entire strategy was useless against them. "Dr. Han, what is your assessment? Can we control this species through normal means?" Dr. Han was quiet for a long moment before answering. No, Chancellor. Standard Council doctrine will not work on humans. They cannot be intimidated because they do not fear death. They cannot be bribed because they value freedom more than comfort. They cannot be reasoned with because their decision is based on principles, not logic. The chamber erupted in alarmed discussions. Many representatives had never heard such an assessment about any species. Admiral Kethavar stood up angrily. Then we destroy them before they become a threat. Send the war fleets immediately. But Commander Yujin raised a hand. Admiral, there is one more thing you need to know. Our intelligence teams have discovered something else about human military thinking. What? They have a doctrine they call mutually assured destruction. If they cannot win a war, they will ensure that their enemies cannot win either. They will destroy everything rather than let it be captured. Yujin showed images of human weapons designed not for victory, but for maximum destruction. Nuclear weapons, biological agents, and other tools meant to cause widespread devastation. Their military doctrine includes provisions for what they call a dead hand system. Even if their government and military are destroyed, automated systems will continue to launch attacks until nothing is left. Dr. Han nodded grimly. They have designed their military to ensure that anyone who destroys Earth will pay a terrible price. Even in defeat, they plan to cause maximum damage to their enemies. Chancellor Mordeth felt fear growing in his mind. The Council had built their empire by being stronger than anyone else. But humans seemed willing to drag their enemies down with them, making strength less important than commitment. Dr. Han, in your professional opinion, what would happen if we attacked Earth? We would likely win, Chancellor. Our technology is superior and our fleets are larger. But the cost would be enormous. Humans would not simply defend their planet. They would attack ours. They would turn the war into a mutual destruction scenario where winning becomes meaningless. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. For 50,000 years, the Council had won every conflict by being too strong to fight. Now they faced a species that did not care about winning or losing, only about fighting. Ambassador Veltar spoke in a confused tone. Are you saying that these primitives could threaten the Council? I am saying that they have made themselves too dangerous to fight, Dr. Han replied. Victory against humans would cost more than defeat by anyone else. Commander Yujin activated one final display. There is one last piece of intelligence. Our scouts intercepted a transmission from their military leader to their fleet commander. The screen showed a human in military uniform speaking to Captain Hyunwoo Park. The words were simple but chilling. Captain, you speak for all of humanity. We are ready to die for our freedom. The question is, are they ready to die for our slavery? The transmission ended, leaving the council chamber in complete silence. Every representative understood the message. Humans were not just refusing to surrender. They were challenging the entire council to decide if controlling one species was worth destroying their empire. Chancellor Mordeth stood up slowly, his mind racing through possibilities. For the first time in his long life, he faced a problem that could not be solved with superior force. The council will recess again, he announced. I need time to consider our options. As the representatives filed out, many looked worried and confused. They had expected to discuss the quick destruction of another primitive species. Instead, they faced the possibility that one small planet might force them to question everything they believed about power and control. Dr. Han remained in her tank, staring at the data about humans. In all her years of studying alien psychology, she had never encountered a species like this. They had found the one thing that could threaten the Council's empire: complete indifference to the consequences of resistance. The humans had said no, and they meant it absolutely. While the Galactic Council debated what to do about humanity's refusal, Earth was transforming itself into a fortress world. The single word no had triggered the largest mobilization in human history. President Ji-Hai Kim stood in the emergency command center deep beneath the capital. Around her, screens showed activity from every corner of the planet. Factories that had made cars yesterday were building missiles today. Shipyards that built cargo vessels were now constructing warships. General Tae Kyung Lim approached the president with a tablet full of reports. His face was grim but determined. Madam President, the conversion is proceeding faster than we hoped, he said. Every major industrial facility on Earth is now focused on military production. We estimate full war readiness in 60 days. What about our space capabilities? President Kim asked. Admiral Dongmin Lee stepped forward. We are building ships as fast as possible, but quantity is not our strength. The aliens have thousands of vessels. We will have maybe 50 by the time they arrive. President Kim nodded. Everyone knew humanity was outgunned, but they were not planning to fight a traditional war. Dr. So Young Choi stood near a bank of computers where teams of scientists worked around the clock. She had been developing new weapons since Captain Park's transmission 3 days ago. Dr. Choi, what progress on our special projects? President Kim asked. So Young looked up from her calculations. We have several promising developments, Madam President. The aliens may be more advanced, but they have never faced human creativity applied to warfare. She activated a holographic display showing various weapon designs. We are working on kinetic bombardment systems using simple physics. Large masses moving at high speed can destroy anything regardless of how advanced it is. What else? Quantum cascade weapons that could disrupt their ship systems. Viral computer programs designed to spread through their networks. And most importantly, the Dead Hand Protocol. President Kim had heard about Dead Hand but wanted to understand it better. Explain the Dead Hand system. Dr. So Young's expression became serious. If Earth is destroyed, automated systems will activate throughout human space. Every ship, every station, every outpost will become a weapon. The systems cannot be stopped or recalled once activated. What will they do? Strike at every alien target within reach. Not just military targets, but civilian populations, industrial centers, anything that would cause maximum damage to the Council's empire. General Lim nodded approvingly. The aliens think they can destroy Earth and move on. Dead Hand ensures that Earth's destruction will cost them more than they can afford. Across the planet, Captain Su Binjiang supervised the construction of humanity's first real war fleet. The shipyards worked day and night, building vessels designed for one purpose, making the galaxy remember why some species chose death over slavery. Su Bin walked through the construction bay where the new flagship was taking shape. Unlike the exploration vessel New Seoul, this ship was built for war. Every surface bristled with weapons. The hull was designed to ram enemy ships if necessary. Captain, the workers are asking about the ship's name, her chief engineer said. Su Bin looked at the massive vessel. Call it the Defiance. That is what we are giving the galaxy. The construction crews cheered when they heard the name. Word spread quickly through the shipyards and soon workers were painting Defiance in large letters on the hull. Similar scenes played out across Earth's industrial centers. Weapons factories operated 24 hours a day. Research facilities tested new technologies that pushed the boundaries of physics. Military bases trained soldiers for a type of warfare no human had ever imagined. But the most important work was happening in secret locations around the planet. Teams of engineers and scientists were building what they called gift packages, weapons designed to be hidden throughout Council space before the war began. Dr. Min-ho Park led one of these teams in a facility buried deep underground. His specialty was turning human tendencies toward overkill into military advantages. The aliens expect us to fight defensively, he explained to his team. They think we will try to protect Earth and hope for mercy. Instead, we are going to attack everything they care about. The gift packages were simple but devastating. Small devices that could be hidden on asteroids, derelict ships, or anywhere else in space. When activated, they would detonate with the force of small stars, sterilizing entire star systems. How many can we deploy before they notice? Asked Dr. He Jin-yu, his chief assistant. Our scouts are already placing them throughout Council territory, Min-ho replied. If they destroy Earth, they will lose dozens of their most important worlds. The plan was risky and required precise timing. Human ships disguised as cargo vessels were secretly entering Council space, hiding weapons on uninhabited planets and space stations. The aliens would not know the weapons were there until it was too late. Captain Heirin Yu commanded one of these secret missions. Her ship, disguised as a simple trading vessel, carried gift packages to the heart of Council space. She knew that if she was caught, torture and death awaited her, but she also knew that her mission might save Earth. Captain, we are approaching the target system, her navigator reported. Heirin studied the displays. Ahead was a major Council world with billions of alien inhabitants. Soon, a small device would be hidden in their star system, waiting for a signal from Earth. Deploy the package and withdraw, she ordered. One more star system ensured against our destruction. Back on Earth, Ambassador Jinwoo Kang was preparing humanity's final diplomatic message to the Council. It would be delivered just before the aliens' deadline expired. What should we tell them? President Kim asked. Jinwoo had spent days crafting the message. It needed to be clear but not threatening, honest but not revealing their preparations. We tell them the truth, he said. We are ready to die for our freedom. The question is whether they are ready to die for our slavery. The message was simple but effective. It let the Council know that humanity understood the consequences of their refusal, while making it clear that the consequences would not be one-sided. As the deadline approached, Captain Hyunwoo Park aboard the New Seoul prepared to deliver humanity's final answer. His ship had been joined by 5 other vessels, all carrying the same message to different parts of Council space. Captain, all systems are ready, Lieutenant Soomin Kim reported. Hyunwoo stood on his bridge, looking out at the stars that might soon witness the end of humanity, but he felt no fear, only determination. Begin transmission to all Council frequencies, he ordered. Across the galaxy, alien listening posts picked up the human broadcast. In the Council chambers, representatives gathered once again to hear humanity's final word. Hyunwoo appeared on screens throughout Council space. Behind him, the flags of Earth's nations hung side by side, united for perhaps the first time in human history. To the Galactic Council, he began, you gave humanity 7 days to surrender our freedom. We have considered your demand carefully. He paused, looking directly into the camera. Our answer remains the same. No. We will not surrender our world, our people, or our freedom. We choose to remain free whatever the cost. You have threatened to destroy Earth if we do not submit. We understand this threat and accept it. But understand this. If you destroy our world, you will pay a price that will make you regret the day you first heard the word human. We have prepared gifts for you throughout your empire. If Earth burns, your worlds will burn with it. If our people die, your people will join them. This is not a threat, it is a promise. You rule through fear, demanding that others choose between slavery and death. Today, humanity offers you the same choice. You can leave us alone and continue your empire in peace, or you can attack us and watch that empire burn. Choose wisely. You will not get another chance. The transmission ended. Across Council space, the message was clear. Humanity was ready for war, and that war would cost more than the Council could afford to pay. In the Council chambers, Supreme Chancellor Mordeth stared at the empty screen. For the first time in 50,000 years, another species had threatened the Council with mutual destruction. Dr. Eun-ji-han frantically checked her instruments. Chancellor, I am detecting massive energy signatures throughout Council space. The humans have somehow positioned weapons near our major worlds. Admiral Kethavar rose from his platform, his armor clicking. Impossible. Our sensors would have detected any human ships in our territory. Not if they were disguised as something else. Commander Yu Jin-song replied grimly. The humans have been planning this from the beginning. They never intended to surrender. They were buying time to position weapons throughout our empire. Chancellor Mordeth felt the weight of an impossible decision. Attack Earth and face the destruction of dozens of Council worlds, or let one small species defy the empire that had ruled the galaxy for millennia. For the first time in his long life, the Supreme Chancellor of the Galactic Council was afraid of a species that had never left their own star system. Supreme Chancellor Mordeth stood alone in his private chambers, looking out at the stars of the Dominion capital world. For 3 days he had wrestled with the most difficult decision of his 500-year life. The human deadline was approaching and the Council waited for his orders. The reports were clear and terrifying. Human weapons were hidden throughout Council space, positioned near every major world. If Earth was destroyed, the retaliation would cripple the empire that had taken 50,000 years to build. A soft chime announced a visitor. Dr. Eun-ji-han entered, her breathing apparatus allowing her to survive outside her tank for short periods. Chancellor, I have completed the final analysis you requested, she said. Tell me your conclusions. Dr. Han, the humans have created a perfect deterrent system. Their weapons are hidden so well that we cannot find and destroy them all before they activate. Even if we located 90% of them, the remaining 10% would still cause catastrophic damage. Mordeth nodded grimly. What about the psychological profile? Have you found any way to change their position? Dr. Han's expression was sad. No, Chancellor. The human mind is unlike anything we have encountered. They truly value freedom more than survival. This is not posturing or negotiation tactics. They would rather die free than live as slaves. And if we destroy their planet, they will become martyrs. Their story will spread to every species in the galaxy. The word no will become a symbol of resistance that could inspire other worlds to defy us. Mordeth walked to his window, watching ships move between the floating cities of Dominion Prime. Everything he saw represented the power and order the Council had maintained for millennia. Now one small planet threatened to bring it all down. Another chime announced Admiral Kethvar. The Zephyrian war commander entered, his armor gleaming and his forearms carrying data tablets. "Chancellor, my fleets are ready to attack Earth," he declared. "Give the word and this problem will be solved." "At what cost, Admiral?" Kethvar's insect-like features showed confusion. "Some damage to our outer territories, nothing more." Dr. Han activated a holographic display showing the projected casualties. "Admiral, the humans have positioned weapons near 47 major Council worlds. If they detonate, we estimate the deaths of over 200 billion Council citizens." "Acceptable losses to maintain order," Kethvar replied without emotion. "Admiral," Mordeth said quietly, "those 200 billion include the entire population of your homeworld." For the first time, Kethvar hesitated. His world of Zephyr was among the targets the humans had chosen. His own family lived there. They would not dare, he said uncertainly. "They have already dared to refuse the Council," Dr. Han pointed out. "Why would they hesitate to follow through on their threats?" Mordeth made his decision. "Admiral, stand down your fleets. Dr. Han, call an emergency session of the full Council." 2 hours later, the Council chambers were filled with representatives from every member species. The air buzzed with tension and confusion as rumors spread about the Chancellor's intentions. Mordeth took his place on the highest platform and activated the chamber's communication systems. His words would be broadcast to every world in Council space. "Fellow Council members, we face an unprecedented situation. The human species has refused our authority and threatens massive retaliation if we force compliance." Angry voices erupted from various platforms. Many representatives demanded immediate action against the defiant humans. "Order," Mordeth commanded. "You will hear the full situation before making judgments." Dr. Han presented her analysis to the chamber. The psychological profile of humanity, their history of choosing death over surrender, and their current military preparations were laid out in detail. "The humans have demonstrated capabilities we never anticipated," she concluded. "They have positioned weapons throughout our empire without our knowledge. They have shown absolute commitment to their refusal, and they have made it clear that destroying their world will cost us more than we can afford." Commander Yujin Song added the military assessment. "Our fleets could destroy Earth, but the human retaliation would devastate our empire. We face a choice between accepting one species' defiance or watching our civilization burn." The chamber erupted in debate. Some representatives demanded war regardless of the cost. Others argued for finding a peaceful solution. A few suggested that perhaps the Council's tribute system needed to be reconsidered. Ambassador Veltar's crystal form flickered with anger. "If we allow one species to defy us, others will follow. The Empire will collapse. The Empire will collapse faster if we lose 47 major worlds," Dr. Han replied calmly. Supreme Chancellor Mordeth listened to the debate for an hour before calling for silence. The decision was his to make, and he had reached his conclusion. "The Galactic Council has ruled this galaxy for 50,000 years through superior force," he began. "Today we have encountered a force we cannot overcome. Absolute conviction." He paused, letting his words sink in. "The humans have taught us something we had forgotten. Some things are more important than power. Some principles are worth dying for, and some species cannot be conquered because they refuse to be conquered." The chamber was completely silent now. "Therefore, by Emergency Council Decree 99,847, I declare that the species designated human is hereby granted permanent exemption from tribute requirements. They will be allowed to develop independently without Council interference." The announcement sent shockwaves through the chamber. Never in Council history had a species been exempted from tribute after refusing to pay. "Furthermore," Mordeth continued, "any Council member who attacks human territory without direct provocation will be considered in violation of galactic law." Admiral Kethvar rose angrily from his platform. Chancellor, this sets a dangerous precedent. What happens when other species hear about this? As if in answer to his question, alerts began sounding throughout the chamber. Communication officers rushed to their stations as reports flooded in from across the galaxy. Commander Yu-Jin Song read the incoming messages with growing alarm. Chancellor, we are receiving transmissions from 17 different species. They are sending single-word responses to their tribute demands. What word? Dr. Han asked, though she already knew the answer. No. The word echoed through the chamber like thunder. The human defiance was already spreading, inspiring other species to resist Council authority. On the main screen, images appeared of different alien worlds. Each one showed the same scene. Representatives of various species standing before Council cameras, speaking the same word that had started it all. No, no, no. The rebellion was spreading faster than anyone had imagined. The human example was proving that the Council could be defied, that freedom was possible even against impossible odds. Mordeth watched the reports with a mixture of fear and fascination. The empire that had seemed unshakable was cracking, all because one species had refused to bow. Dr. Han, he said quietly, what is your assessment of the situation? The Council's authority was based on the belief that resistance was hopeless, she replied. The humans have proven that resistance is possible. Other species are following their example. Can we stop it? No, Chancellor. The word has spread too far, too fast. The galaxy has learned that the Council can be challenged. Ambassador Veltar's form was dim with defeat. What do we do now? Mordeth looked around the chamber at representatives who had once been confident rulers of the galaxy. Now they looked lost and uncertain. We adapt, he said finally. The age of tribute is ending. We must find new ways to maintain order and unity among the galactic species. Years later, Professor Wu Jin Nam of Seoul Galactic University would write about the day that changed the galaxy. In his famous book, The Word That Broke an Empire, he would describe how a single human response had transformed galactic civilization. The Galactic Council still existed, but it had become something different, a forum for cooperation rather than domination. Species joined voluntarily, contributing what they could rather than being forced to surrender everything they had. The tribute system was abolished. The planet-killing fleets were disbanded. For the first time in 50,000 years, the galaxy knew peace based on respect rather than fear. Captain Hyunwoo Park, now Admiral of the Earth Federation Fleet, often received visitors from other worlds. They came to see the human who had first spoken the word that changed everything. How did you know it would work? A young alien diplomat asked him during one such visit. Hyunwoo smiled and looked out at the stars where ships from hundreds of worlds traveled freely. I did not know it would work, he replied. But I knew that some things are more important than knowing. Freedom is one of them. The diplomat was confused. But you risked everything on a guess? No, Hyunwoo said. I risked everything on a principle. That is what humans do. We believe that some things are worth any risk, any sacrifice, any cost, even death, especially death. Because a life without freedom is not really living. The galaxy had learned the most important lesson in its history, from the smallest of its civilizations. Sometimes the most powerful word in the universe is the simplest one. No. And sometimes when spoken with absolute conviction, one word is enough to change everything. Captain Velthanor stood on the bridge of the Harmony's edge, watching the endless darkness of space through the main viewing window. His blue skin looked pale under the ship's lights. Behind him, the crew worked quietly at their stations. They had been traveling for 3 months now, mapping the empty regions at the edge of the galaxy. The Galactic Confederation had sent them here to look for new worlds. For 50,000 years, all the races in the galaxy had lived together in peace. The Altarians like Velthanor, the Crystal-like Zephyrite, the four-armed Nexarians, and dozens of other species all worked together. They explored, they traded, they learned from each other. Life was good in the inner systems, but the outer edge of the galaxy was different. It was dangerous. Long ago, something terrible had come from the darkness between stars. The Devourers. Machines that ate entire worlds and turned them into more machines. The Confederation had fought them once, long ago, but the cost was too high. So they had pulled back. They had built walls of energy and left the outer systems empty. Better to be safe than sorry. Captain, called Science Officer Kythera from her station, Her crystal body caught the light and threw rainbows across the bridge. I'm getting strange readings from the next system. Velthanor walked over to look at her screens. What kind of readings? Life signs. Lots of them. And energy signatures I don't understand. Kithara's voice sounded worried. This system should be dead. According to our maps, nothing has lived here for thousands of years. Navigator Brixton looked up from his charts. All four of his arms moved across different controls at once. The star is a simple yellow dwarf. Class G. Nothing special about it, but... He paused and checked his instruments again. Captain, there are artificial structures in orbit around the third planet. Velthanor felt cold. Artificial structures in the outer rim could only mean one thing. Devourers? I don't think so, sir. The energy patterns are all wrong. This is something else. The captain made a decision. Take us closer, but keep us at maximum sensor range. I want to know what we're looking at before we get too close. The ship moved forward slowly. As they got closer to the system, the readings became clearer. And more impossible. Captain, Kithara said, her voice shaking. The third planet, it's alive. Really alive. I'm reading billions of life forms. Plants, animals, and intelligence, definitely intelligence. That's impossible, Velthanor said. Nothing could survive out here. The Devourers would have found it and destroyed it long ago. But the sensors didn't lie. As they watched, more details came clear. The planet was blue and green, covered with water and land. Cities dotted the surface, connected by lines of light. Ships moved between the planet and several space stations. It was a thriving world, sir, Brixton called out. I'm detecting movement in the outer system. Multiple contacts. They're moving fast. On the main screen, dots of light appeared, ships, dozens of them. They moved with purpose, heading towards something at the edge of the system. What are they doing? Velthanor asked. The answer came quickly. At the very edge of the system, space twisted. Something large and dark appeared. Even from this distance, Velthanor knew what it was. He had seen pictures in the history books. A devourer ship, one of the ancient machine killers that had driven his people back to the inner systems. We have to warn them, Kithara said. They don't know what they're facing. But as they watched, something amazing happened. The ships from the planet didn't run. They didn't hide. Instead, they attacked. The devourer ship was huge, bigger than any ship the Confederation had ever built. It was covered in weapons that could destroy planets. But the smaller ships swarmed around it like angry insects. They fired weapons that looked primitive compared to Confederation technology. Chemical rockets, kinetic projectiles, simple energy beams, and somehow, incredibly, they were winning. This is impossible, Velthanor whispered. No one fights the Devourers. No one wins against them. But the evidence was right in front of them. The small ships moved in perfect coordination. They seemed to know exactly where to hit the Devourer ship to cause the most damage. When the machine fired its terrible weapons, the smaller ships were already gone, moving to new positions. One of the small ships attached itself to the Devourer's hull. Moments later, explosions bloomed along the machine's surface. Internal explosions. Someone had gotten inside and was destroying it from within. They're boarding it, Brixton said in disbelief. They're actually boarding a Devourer ship. The battle lasted only 20 minutes. When it was over, the Devourer ship was breaking apart, its pieces drifting into space. The small ships gathered the wreckage, salvaging what they could. Then they disappeared back toward their planet, as if destroying an ancient terror was just another day's work. The bridge was silent for a long time. Who are they? Kithara finally asked. Velthanor didn't answer right away. He was thinking about everything they had just seen. A world full of life at the galaxy's edge. Ships that could destroy Devourers. People who fought instead of running. Send a message to Confederation Command, he said at last. Tell them we've found something impossible. Tell them we've found people who never learned to be afraid. What should we do now, Captain? Brixton asked. Velthanor looked at the planet on the screen. Somewhere down there lived beings who had done what the entire Galactic Confederation couldn't do. They had faced the Devourers and won. They had made homes in the darkness that his people had abandoned. We make contact, he said. We find out who they are and how they do what they do. And we hope they're willing to talk to us. Sir, what if they're hostile? What if they see us as a threat? Velthanor thought about that. These people had just destroyed a Devourer ship like it was nothing. If they wanted to hurt the Harmony's edge, there was probably nothing he could do to stop them. Then we hope they're more civilized than we were when we ran away and left them to fight alone, he said. The words hung in the air like an accusation, because that's what they had done, wasn't it? The Confederation had pulled back and left the outer systems to die. They had built their walls and felt safe behind them. They had never wondered what happened to the worlds they abandoned. Now they knew. Some of those worlds had survived. Some had fought back. Some had won. And they had done it all without help from the Great Galactic Confederation. Begin standard first contact procedures, Velthanor ordered, and pray they're more forgiving than we deserve.